Not only do the soldiers have laser tag capabilities, imagine Apache helicopters and tanks also are fitted with this laser tag technology. What's going on? My name is Marcus Obiata. I was a combat engineer in the 101st Airborne, and today I want to talk about war games. The actual name for war games are FTXs, or Field Training Exercises. However, for the purposes of this video, we will be referring to it as war games. The US military has two major training facilities that performs war games, JRTC and NTC, the Joint Readiness Training Center and the National Training Center. Both of these places perform the same duties. They both try to simulate war games so that units, before they deploy, they test out how good they really are against an opposing force. I've been to the Joint Readiness Training Center 4 times. Once I was a bad guy, and 3 times I was the good guys. All 3 times I was the good guys, I lost the war game. This is because in war games, usually if you're the good guy, you are given the worst hand ever. You are meant to lose the war game because what is the point of a war game if you're just gonna sit there and destroy everybody? You're not learning anything. Also, usually the bad guys have everything in their advantage. They can play dirty, they're the bad guys. They don't have to follow the rules of war. Speaking of rules, there are rules also set in place before the war game that both sides will know. Sometimes the good guys will have no air support, no telecommunications, and they have a low amount of ammo. And sometimes the bad guys have everything they could ever want to win a battle. The reason why they do this is because when you do these war games, there are generals who are actually observing in UAVs and on the ground, and they want to see how your unit is performing. Everything is a very complex scenario. You very rarely have a one-on-one massive forces, equal forces, because if you did that, nothing would get learned or done. So how do you know when you actually take somebody out in a war game? You have what's called Miles gear. It's literally a massive game of laser tag when you're playing a war game. And you put on this special equipment that has a laser on your weapon and it has receptors on your body, almost like a vest. And the laser goes off whenever there's a kick to your barrel or a muzzle flash because you're shooting blank rounds. It feels like the real thing. So you're shooting laser beams at other people, and when that laser beam hits you, your gear will go off and tell you you are dead. Not only do the soldiers have laser tag capabilities, imagine Apache helicopters and tanks also are fitted with this laser tag technology. There are also referees in these war games that, if they want to make the scenario a lot worse, they have what's called the God Gun. And he can take as many people out as he wants with the God Gun. So if you're on the good guy's force and you're being ambushed, the God Gun might come in, take all of you out, and there might be only 3 of you left, and they want to see how you perform when your whole squad was taken out. But how does it work when it's an international war game? Recently, we had the British versus the Americans, the Marines versus the Marines. Who are the best? Now, whenever international war games happens, again, it's the exact same thing. You have preset rules where usually you know one force has a clear advantage over the other force. Now, it wasn't too certain to see what was trying to be performed or what they were trying to figure out between the two forces. However, the media spun the story and said the British are the best military ever and the US Marines suck. Go British! In fact, the US Marines came out with a statement and said, we didn't get our asses handed to us. We were just doing a war game. We're supposed to lose. So whenever you see a news article or a video saying this country beat this country in a war game, those guys could care less and they probably don't know what war games are all about. Also, a disclaimer, I could care less who wins the war game, British versus the United States. We are brothers at arms. Both of those guys, Marines and Marines, fight side by side on battlefields and they get the job done. And the news media could care less. They would love nothing more than the United States to crumble to the British. It looks good, it's clickbait, they need the news story. The main thing I really want to reiterate is that there's always going to be a clear-cut side that has a main advantage. You're supposed to lose the war game. You want your worst day of training to be in a war game. Because there's no coming back during the real thing. So remember, when you see war games are happening and you see one country dominates another, take that with a grain of salt because we don't really know the full story and war games are meant to be training facilities that help one country out with another.